If you do any kind of development at all, especially web development, there will definitely come a point where you're going to have to ask some help from somebody. And what I'd like to do in this lecture is give you a couple of resources where you can ask for help, as well as give you some tips and tools that you can use in order to make your questions better and easier to communicate. Now, obviously, if you have any questions regarding the course or even the coding questions inside the course, you're more than welcome to ask these questions at Coursera.org. However, there are other resources that you could use to get help and get answers to your questions. And one of the premier resources on the web is stackoverflow.com. I cannot tell you how many times this site saved me in my development because I didn't know something or something was difficult to figure out, and the community, developer community out there is huge and it's ready to help you. And as you can certainly go and turn around and contribute to the developer community back through the site as well. So stackoverflow.com. Definitely remember this website. Now, when you ask coding questions, it's obviously very helpful to the people who you're asking the question from if they can look at your code. And you can't really ship the entire code to them. So one way of doing it is just to cut and paste your code straight into the question itself. And you could probably get away with that a lot of the times. But it's usually much more helpful for you to provide some actual working code that the people looking at it can look at it and diagnose and help you with it. You'll certainly get your chances of answering a question and answering a question quickly much higher if you provide something that they can work with. Well, there's a couple of websites I'd like to show you that can help you with that, especially when we're talking about web development. One of them is called jsfiddle.net. And what the site does is it lets you write HTML, CSS, JavaScript code, and then share that code via link. So I'll give you a very quick example. I'll just write h1 and say, hello, Coursera. And if I click run, you'll see that in the result pane, I have hello, Coursera. Well, I could go to my CSS pane and change that real quick. And I know we haven't learned about CSS yet, but just bear with me here. And I could change it and say that the color of it should be red. So if I run it again, now the color of Coursera, hello Coursera, becomes red. Now if I click the save button right here, I'll get a unique URL that I could then copy and paste and get to exactly the same page with all the code ready to go and with the result of it right there. So that's really helpful because if you just provide this link to people, they'll be able to take a look at your code. They can also fork it themselves, and forking meaning you could create a new fiddle based on this one. They can correct your code or provide some additional code, and then you can look at yours versus theirs and actually examine the solution. So jsfiddle.net is a great resource. There's another website that I absolutely love, and that website is called codepen.io. And this website is actually founded, or maybe co-founded, I'm not sure, by Chris Coyier. When it comes to HTML, CSS, and JavaScript in the web developer community, Chris Coyier is certainly a huge name. He actually started a website called csstricks.com, and if you'd like, we could actually go there real quick, tricks.com. It's css-tricks.com, which is like the one-stop shop on a lot of different tutorials, answers, and it's all about CSS and HTML. css-tricks.com is by itself a great resource that actually I've used quite a bit as well. But back to codepen.io. Codepen.io allows you to do something very similar to jsfiddle.net, except there's lots more here. There's really a whole community that surrounds this website because you can actually look at featured pens, meaning featured sets of solutions that will probably amaze you, and you can actually look at the code as to how they achieved those solutions. So using the CSS, HTML, and JavaScript. Let's go ahead and give it a quick try. Let's create a new pen. And you don't have to sign up for it if you don't want to. You could just remain anonymous. But certainly if you sign up, it's much better because you'll be able to then go back and look at all of your work. It will be saved in one place. So we'll do the same type of thing. We'll say h1. Let's do hello Coursera. And right there, it shows up automatically. Don't even have to really refresh anything. And let's do the same thing. Let's do h1 and give it a color red. And there you go, changes to red automatically. And what's really cool, and this is actually one of the newest features they have, is you can actually have a console, just like you have a console in a browser. If you pull it up, I could say something like var x equals hello Coursera. And I could say x or console.log x, and it spits out Hello Coursera back. So you basically have like a browser that you could work in and develop in remotely anywhere you are. And again, if you actually click save and save this, you could take that URL right there, copy it, and then provide it to somebody else to help you with your solution. And there's the entire solution that we just had is right there in front of you. So I highly encourage you to check out these websites and to keep them in your arsenal as resources, not only for looking things up, but also to use it for asking questions. It will help you quite a bit in the long run.